This was quite some time ago. I'd been living in Kansas, for several years. I had a couple of bucks, had a nice little place near Kansas City. That was before the Ashley got to be so popular with movie people and radio comics and people like that, and it wasn't bad, living alone, waking up in the middle of the night hearing the Midwest screams of a passing train or listening to a dog howling way out across the valley. And then going back to sleep. I don't get back to sleep so easy these days. It's just hard to after what happened to my poor Ashley. I don't see how a whole town can disappear, and no one would care, no one even blinked an eye, life just moved right along. Anyone remember the movie The Day After? You can see some of Ashley, not much but a little in that movie. Funny thing, one day I woke up in Ashley and it was like I was living the movie. Some time ago. These people from the Cleveland FBI office were out there. They asked a lot of questions. There was two of them, the way they worked together, you could tell they were great friends. They stayed with me at the local hotel over in Ashley. It was all right. I had a Dodge convertible and the FBI boys got quite a kick out of my old convertible. It isn't like Cleveland. So we did a lot of driving around and they asked the locals a lot of questions. You know, up to the fields to see the plants that would glow in the dark and grow very strange. It was almost as they responded to touch, took them down to the local swimming hole. Funny thing, they pulled out some type of detector, I think they called it a radiation counter. That thing sure made a bunch of noise when they flipped it on. One of the old guys said something about the water table, looked a little worried. Then we headed out to the old Arrowhead farm. Old man Joe had been digging a strange silver object out of the ground. He had been working on it for about 4 years. Many of us offered to help him, but he always refused our help. Anyway, the FBI boys wanted to have a look. Old man Joe got a little mad, and even pulled a gun on us. He quickly become real nice when the FBI guys told him, whatever he was digging was government property. Come to think of it, after the trucks showed up and took whatever that silver thing was, I never saw old man Joe again. We were just like anyone that lived out here, trying to stay alive on whatever the land would give you. And I guess the government guys were doing their job as well, covering up whatever they lost. I took them everywhere and they looked at everything. They must have had one hell of a report. That's how we came to go up to Coronado Heights that day. The two government guys. You know, we're looking around for odd places, they had some ideas, and so one day we were having breakfast and they were looking at an automobile club bulletin. And one of them said, let's go to Coronado Heights. So we did. I'd been up there once before, and you know how it is in. You been somewhere, in your mind you knew everything there was to a place. I thought I knew everything. I found out different. One of the government guys wanted me to go up a closed road, so I did. To my surprise, there was this odd opening in the side of the mountain. A number of fences along its sides and what looked like 2 military guys at the gate. The FBI guys from Cleveland told me to pull up the gate. One of them flashed a ID. And the next thing I knew, we were inside this big dome. One of the FBI guys said this is where the planetary radio telescope is. It's like being inside a giant's watch. The telescope is in the middle of a big, spidery framework with ladders climbing all over it up under this dome. This place is huge, hidden in a mountain. I stood on a kind of a catwalk around the edge while the guy in a white lab coat explains as much as thinks I would understand. There was just a few of us that day, standing close to the little kind of pulpit, listening with our mouths open. It is like a pulpit. I got to thinking that day how the white coat looked like a priest up there, a nice old white haired fellow like a priest, and I was thinking he was talking about the heavens, too. I'd seen it all before, but my mouth was as wide open as the two government guys. Here is as much of his speech as I could recall. The Earth rotates, you know, all 24,000 miles of its equator, once in 24 hours. A given spot on the Earth's surface is moving at the rate of 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. But Ashley is different, that's why we are here, that's why you are here. As the Earth is moving through space, too, it moves around the Sun at the rate of about 18.5 miles per second. So therefore we must, in order to keep this radio telescope focused accurately on the celestial objects we are observing, things we are trying to commutate with, we must neutralize those motions mechanically. The telescope itself, as you will observe, is controllable in any direction by this motor. Watch it, if you please, he said. A sound, a very small AC motor hum, fairly high-pitched, begins to fill the dome. My hairs began to stand up on my arms as if the air was being changed, my feet started to feel heavy. The white coat pointed and said, "Notice the motion of the telescope. The feeling you have in your feet will pass as soon as the cyclotron discharges." The white coat flipped a switch, shutters of the dome began to open through which the telescope points. The mountain itself was opening up. In the back of my mind I wondered if I was dreaming, if this was even possible. Another sound, clicking like locks and the distant sound of falling rocks. I looked at the two guys from the FBI office, and they looked back at me. I have seen people surprised or in shock, but I think that day we all were. With the final movement of the telescope, the rotation of the entire dome, exactly synchronized with the speed of the Earth through space. "Watch through the shutters above you, please," the man said. One of the guys said, "I see. Look outside. We ain't moving. The sky's going by. Look, it's like we are frozen in time." "I see it," I said. "It's an optical illusion," said the other government guy. The white coat responded in a harsh tone. "No, it's not an optical illusion. In relation to space, this spot we are on is standing still. Through these motions here in the dome, the mirror of the telescope is kept aimed exactly at one spot far out in space." "What's space?" I asked. "It's nothing," said the white coat. "What about the stars?" I asked. "There are a few miles of air, my friend, and then, nothing. This is the places where there are no stars. If you see something that looks like a star, it's something that's on its ways here. Stay paranoid, my friends."